and I'm only halfway through my bullet journal. And if I only had a few pages left, pieces of paper. So in today's video, I'm going to show you 5 things that I did to prepare myself for the new year inside of my current bullet journal. This is going to include updating my future log, creating a new year kickoff page, and also but if you want them, I think they are going to help you kind of speed things along. So in today's video, I'm going to use a letter and a number stencil. These are great, really super helpful, especially if you're not super confident with using your own handwriting inside of your bullet journal. I also have a smaller set of these that I'll go ahead and link in the description below on my Amazon shop that you can pick up that are really helpful too. And you're also going to see me using a lot of stamps in this setup as well. I have quite the collection. Again, not saying that you need to have the same number of these to get up and running, but you will see me using more and more of these throughout this year. I just have a lot and I finally want to put them to good use. The other thing you'll see me using a little bit more this year and in this spread, just a little bit, are going to be some stickers. You don't need stickers, but I have them, so I might as well start to use them, especially if they make sense in my spreads. And I feel like my motto this year should be, if I have the stationery, let's use the stationery. So you'll see me incorporate some of that too. And as I said, if you don't have any of these things, it's totally cool. You don't need them to do it, but they can really help speed up your process, especially if you're not feeling super creative sometimes. It happens to all of us, totally cool. So now let's go ahead and get into it. Being only halfway through my bullet journal, I knew that I wasn't going to need to do a full setup. I'm still going to keep my key, I'm still going to use my index, but the future log is the first place I needed to get started. The future log is where all of your future that I had this page ready to go for 2021. Now I've covered up everything here with some sticky. With about half of my bullet journal still left to go, I didn't want to insert a future log for this as I have a B5 notepad from Archer and Olive, and I thought that I would go ahead in with the craft paper. The size almost worked out perfectly, and instead of cutting it, what I decided to do was fold it and put a little note on the inside for me, just as a little reminder. You could easily use this as a place to also keep notes, tasks, or anything related to the rest of the year. I also cut the bottom corner of this page so that it would fit relatively perfectly inside. And as I mentioned, I put a little "you got this" on the inside panel, just as a fun little reminder for my sin here, so I can also flip it up and still reference anything that I had behind this. I have some really cool wood grain washi that I've had for quite some time, so I'm going to go ahead and just cut 2 pieces of this to stick to the top to make this happen. There's probably a few different ways that I could have attached this. Plus, I also like to look back on my bullet journals, so taping this in here wouldn't have been the best option for me. The next page that we're going to do is a 2021 overview page. This year I wanted to really focus on some key goals, priorities, notes, and also celebrations. So to set up this page, I've already penciled everything in to make sure that my spacing's on point. And as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I'm going to use stencils throughout these pages. These are really quick and easy ways to set up your pages without having to worry too much about drawing everything in yourself. I use these small flags for my goals, use these arrows for priorities, and then I use the larger flags at the bottom here for celebrations, things that I really want to call out that I did well this year. I'm also going to include stamps. Now I have quite the collection here, and I don't think you need to have all of these, and I'm kind of going through an organization phase right now with all of these, but I wanted to include some of the 21. I've got a goal stamp here that we'll keep over on the left hand side. We're going to use priorities here for the middle, and I also have another one here for notes that I'll use throughout. Another stamp that I have is this larger celebrate, and we're going to keep that here at the bottom so that I can call out the specific ones. I'm going to use this 0.3 fine liner to ink everything in on this page. And then I'm also going to use the Versa ink pad as well. One of the reasons that I love number and letter stencils is that you get really nice clean lines. I love inking them. I'd have to spend a lot of time to get the sizing right, to get the edges right. So to speed things up for myself, these stencils have been a lifesaver. You can find these online. You can also find these at any of your craft stores as well. Now to fill in all of these stencils, I'll just go back over the stencil with my, doesn't exactly line up with my dot grid. What I did is I just aligned them to the top left dot and they'll fit inside of that line. I did the same thing over here with the priorities triangle. I just lined it up with the top left grid
skipped one space down, and then duplicated it. Celebration space here at the bottom, I have a larger banner that I'm going to use. Since I use 6 of the flags for the goals, I use 6 triangles for the priorities, I'm going to also use 6 flags here at the bottom for the celebration marks. Hopefully I'll have more than 6 things to celebrate this year, but to get started, I like everything to be nice and even. Now the next thing we're going to do is start to include our stamps. So as I mentioned, I have this Versa Magic black ink pad that I purchased. I also have one of these clear blocks here that will stick the clear stamps to. It also has a grid on it, which is really helpful to line things up. So we'll start with the hello. I'll go ahead and line this up on my stamp pad. Anytime that I'm using ink, I like to have 2 things with me. I like to have a wet paper towel to wipe off the ink right away, and then a dry paper towel just to kind of blot it to get it nice and dry. I'm somewhat new to stamping. I've used them a little bit in the past, but I'm still getting used to it. It's never going to be a perfect stamp. I've come to accept that, and actually I think sometimes having the little edges show up sometimes adds a little personality to the page. Every time I stamp, I'm just getting in the habit now of just trying to clean off that ink right away. If not, I will forget and it will ruin my stamps. And this is just easier to do it while I'm using it. The next one is going to be Celebrate. This is what I'm going to use here at the bottom. I'll line that up on my stamping block here, pick up the ink from the pad, and then lay it down on top of the line. For the headers of the next one, something I've been trying to do also is really to go, and that way I don't have to pick and pull from each of these as I'm going along. I'm finding it to be much more efficient and helpful as I'm setting out my pages as well. So once I have those in place, I'll just take a smaller stamp brick here. I don't need that huge one for these little tiny ones. I'll go ahead and pick up that stamp, ink it, and then I'm just going to press it right over top. And then I'm going to be a good boy and clean them as I go along as well. I have so much fun using stamps. I think that if you're not great at doodling or you don't feel super confident with laying out page, I'm going to put just a little spacer page in between these two just in case the ink isn't fully dry yet. The next page that we're going to create is going to be my top 5 page. I haven't done one of these before, so I wanted to include it here because I'm really focused on celebrating good things happening throughout the months. So to set up the top 5 page, it's pretty straightforward. I use my letter stencil here to create the large stencils here. I'm just going to go straight down the page with these. The reason that I'm not worried about them lining up is that I want this to be a little bit more of a creative page. So not everything is going to have to fit perfectly on a line. I might include some stickers, some stamps, some ephemera. Going to add to this page is just some cursive hand lettering above each of the months. I did have some month stickers that I could have used here, but since everything else was in black, I thought I would just start and really focus just with this straight ink. And also, hopefully when I start to add some other elements to this page, whether it be color or on top of each of the months. And this is my monthly top 5 page for 2021. The next collection page that I'm going to create is for a large program that I'm going to be running this year at work for Lunch and Learns. The layout of this page is relatively simple, but I wanted to add some fun things to it, like this really great fun pizza sticker. This sticker pack is one that my wife actually bought for my girls when we got started this year with virtual learning, so they've got these fun stickers on their laptops and over their water bottles, and I got some of the leftovers. That could be a pun intended for Lunch and Learns. I'll link the description below where you can get those through Amazon if you're interested in getting a variety pack. What I'll do next is just letter in Lunch and Learn around the pizza. I did pencil this in, but because of where I placed this sticker, I wanted to get this a little bit closer, so it looks a little messy. I don't have a stamp for team just yet. It might have to be one that I find somewhere, so I'm just going to write that into the spaces here. One look that I really like, especially inside of dot grids, is using one letter for each dot square that you have. I've seen other people do it before, and I just love the way it looks. I just think my handwriting might just be a little too big for it, but that's how I took this on here. So the last thing we'll do on this page is stamp in all of the headers or titles or things for these pages. And I have this wonderful stamp set that I got from Cute Things from Japan that has a bunch of pencils and notes and other things like that. But one of the cool things are these little tiny characters here, one schoolgirl and one schoolboy. So I thought that I would use those for the team. And it just happens to be that I have 3 men and 3 women on the team. So this one will look pretty cool too with the different varying people. Now for this one, I'm going to use the blue Night Sky Versa Magic ink. This is a fun page overall, so might as well add some different color variation. The last thing I'm going to do on the page are use these two little people. They kind of look like gummy bears to me. So I'll put them on a smaller stamp block as we go in. So I did measure these little stamp things out before I placed them down just to make sure that I would have enough space for them. So I'm just going to alternate girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. And then when I go to set up the rest of these pages after this video, I'll put the team members' names here. All of the appointments for our meetings will go over on the bottom left-hand side, and then all of the notes for our meetings will go here in the middle. So I'll go ahead and just erase around the lunch and learn so you can really see what this looks like without the ink and pencil overlapping on top of this. This is just one idea and one approach to taking on a collection page inside of your bullet journal. It could be a lot more simpler. I just have the stamps and stickers to use, so I wanted to get them inside of the bullet journal. I'll put another scrap piece of paper in between these pages as that ink is drying so nothing goes to the other side. So the last page that I have here is my one-on-one for my team. I have 6 team members currently. So all I did to set up this page was go back to my resource page, found the exact space, and just titled them one-on-one on each side, and I'll add each team member's name inside of these spaces as we go ahead and get started. And then I'll start everything for the rest of 2021 in these next pages here.
I think of all of the pages that I set up this year, that this 2021 kickoff page is probably one of the favorites that I've done. I know I only updated a few pages here, but I think that they're really powerful ones and really important ones. And I'm sure as I continue throughout the rest of this notebook, I'll have some other collection pages that I'll get up and running, like a social media tracker. I need a new one of those. That'll come later though. If you'd like this video, make sure to check out more of these above. I've got other bullet journal ideas and inspiration for you that you can build inside of your own bullet journal. Have a great start to your new year, and I will talk to you very soon. See ya.